Guam is America's front yard fortress, in the Western Pacific. One island, closer to Beijing than to Honolulu, holding the runway, the harbor, the fuel, and the submarines that let the United States surge combat power across the region. China fields a missile designed to reach it, the DF-26, nicknamed in open-source circles the Guam Killer. To understand what's truly at stake, you need to see exactly what sits on that island. Andersen Air Force Base forms the backbone of United States air power in the Western Pacific. Its main runway stretches over 3,000 meters, long enough to handle the heaviest bombers and the largest cargo planes. During surge operations, Andersen can support up to 30 sorties every hour. This high tempo depends on a single concrete strip, flanked by rapid repair teams and hardened shelters. Beneath the surface, the base's underground fuel farms hold about 1.2 million gallons of jet fuel. That stockpile sustains roughly 8 days of continuous bomber operations without outside resupply. When the alert level rises, fuel flows from Apra Harbor through a dedicated pipeline capable of moving 500,000 gallons each day directly to the flight line. Maintenance crews work out of a 20-bay hangar and a 6-story warehouse, ready to turn damaged aircraft around in hours, not days. The munitions chain is just as critical. Hardened bunkers at the ammunition annex store over 300,000 pounds of conventional weapons, with climate-controlled vaults designed to withstand direct hits. Ordnance is trucked to the flight line on a tightly scheduled loop, matching the pace of combat sorties. Any break in this chain, whether from physical damage or supply disruption, immediately slows the rate at which bombers can launch, reload, and return to the air. Down at Apra Harbor, the port serves as Guam's maritime lifeline. Its deep-water piers can berth aircraft carriers, amphibious ships, and supply vessels side by side. Gantry cranes with 35-ton lift capacity move containers, spare parts, and heavy munitions from ship to shore. In a typical 12-hour window, the harbor can unload 200 tons of ordnance and pump enough fuel to refill the base's entire reserve. The port-to-base loop is tightly choreographed. Convoys shuttle supplies along a 12-kilometer road, ensuring Andersen's sortie engine never runs dry. But the entire system is vulnerable to bottlenecks. If the runway, fuel pipeline, or harbor cranes are knocked out, the island's ability to sustain high-tempo operations drops sharply, shrinking America's power projection window from weeks to days. Beneath the surface of Guam's maritime approaches, another layer of U.S. power operates in near silence. Submarine Squadron 15, headquartered at Naval Base Guam, maintains a forward-deployed force of fast-attack submarines that rarely break the surface. These boats, mostly Virginia-class, rotate on a 12-month cycle, each spending about half the year on station in the Western Pacific. The squadron's continuous two-submarine presence is not just a number on a chart, it's the backbone of undersea intelligence, surveillance, and rapid strike options stretching from the Philippine Sea to the East China Sea. The key to this persistent patrol is the submarine tender. Moored at Apra Harbor, the tender acts as both a floating depot and a repair shop. Every 48 hours, its crew can refuel and rearm 2 submarines, cycling them back into patrol without the week-long transit to Pearl Harbor. This forward-basing model cuts turnaround time by nearly 30%, extending each submarine's operational window and keeping more boats on station where they matter most. The tender's inventory includes fuel, torpedoes, Tomahawk missiles, and spare parts, enough to support high-tempo operations even during a crisis. Maintenance teams handle everything from engine repairs to hull cleaning, allowing the submarines to remain hidden and unpredictable. The result is a stealth deterrent that shapes adversary calculations, all while staying out of sight. Guam's role as an undersea hub is invisible to most, but its impact is immediate. Without the tender's 48-hour resupply cadence, U.S. attack submarines would spend more time in transit and less time on patrol, shrinking the window for intelligence gathering and strike readiness across the Pacific. In any scenario where Guam's support is disrupted, the tempo of undersea operations would slow, reducing the reach and resilience of America's silent service. Guam's position in the Pacific is not just a matter of distance, it's the hinge of an entire defense strategy. The island sits at the heart of what planners call the Second Island Chain, an arc that runs from Japan's Oki Islands through Okinawa and Luzon, and ends with Guam anchoring the southern edge. This chain forms a forward barrier, stretching roughly 1,500 nautical miles from both Tokyo and Manila, and about 3,300 nautical miles from Hawaii. On a map, the first island chain, which includes Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines, draws the line closest to mainland Asia. The second chain, where Guam sits almost alone, adds a layer of depth, giving U.S. and allied forces a staging ground beyond the immediate reach of most regional threats. Guam's role as the anchor of this chain is more than symbolic. Its airfields and deep-water port serve as the main waypoints for moving aircraft, ships, and supplies between the U.S. mainland and the Western Pacific. From Guam, bombers can reach the first island chain in 2 hours. Naval convoys can reinforce allies or respond to crises in less than a week. This geographic advantage underpins the logic of treating Guam as an unsinkable base, a fixed point that secures the entire arc of U.S. and allied operations across the Pacific. Because of this, adversaries see Guam as the hinge to pressure. If its runways, ports, or logistics are disrupted, the entire chain of reinforcement slows. The ability to surge forces, resupply, or project power across the region hinges on Guam's continued function. That is why, in every major Pacific contingency plan, Guam is not just a rear area, it is the critical link that holds the whole system together. China's missile arsenal now reaches far beyond the first island chain. The DF-26, a road-mobile ballistic missile, is often called the Guam killer in defense circles. Its 4,000-kilometer range brings the island squarely inside its strike envelope. For planners at Andersen Air Force Base or Naval Base Guam, this is not a theoretical threat. A missile launched from deep inside China could cross the Pacific and reach Guam in under 20 minutes. The warning time for crews on the ground is compressed to minutes, not hours. The emergence of hypersonic glide vehicles, capable of flying over 2,000 kilometers at speeds above Mach 5, adds another layer of complexity. Unlike traditional ballistic missiles, hypersonics can maneuver mid-flight, making them harder to track and intercept. Defense analysts point to the challenge. The combination of speed, range, and unpredictable flight paths means interception windows shrink to a handful of minutes. These new systems turn Guam's geographic advantage into a vulnerability. The infrastructure that enables rapid sortie generation, port resupply, and submarine turnaround is now within reach of precision strikes. Even limited damage to a runway, fuel farm, or ammunition bunker could slow the tempo of U.S. operations across the entire Pacific. The risk is not just physical destruction, but the ability of an adversary to disrupt and delay America's surge capacity at the moment it matters most. Guam's efforts to strengthen its defenses run up against legal limits and local resistance. The Guam Organic Act of 1950 grants a measure of self-rule, but Washington controls defense and foreign policy. Any major military expansion, new runways, hardened bunkers, requires not just federal approval, but also input from the Guam legislature. In 2025, the Guam Land Conservancy sued to halt the extension of Andersen's North Field runway, citing threats to cultural heritage and environmental law. The case spotlighted the ongoing struggle between defense priorities and Chamorro land rights, echoing years of activism for greater autonomy. Public opinion remains split. A University of Guam poll found 57% support for the military presence for economic reasons, while 42% worry about over-militarization and environmental harm. With defense payroll making up nearly 30% of Guam's GDP, the base economy is both vital and a source of dependence. Local leaders like former Senator Michael San Nicolas call for a partnership that honors Chamorro identity alongside strategic needs. Physical constraints add to the challenge. Guam depends on weekly cargo ships from Hawaii for essentials, and undersea fiber optic cables through the Luzon Strait remain vulnerable, exposing the island's logistical fragility. Construction crews at Camp Blas work through the tropical heat, laying the groundwork for a new Marine Corps presence on Guam. The base, designed to accommodate a Marine Expeditionary Brigade, adds dispersed logistics nodes and hardened shelters to the island's defense network. This is not just about adding troops. Camp Blaze anchors a shift toward distributed operations. a strategy that scatters forces and supplies across multiple sites, reducing the risk that a single strike could cripple U.S. capabilities. Rotational bomber task forces now cycle through Andersen Air Force Base on a predictable but temporary pattern. Aircraft, maintenance crews, and support equipment arrive for set deployments, then rotate out, making it harder for adversaries to target fixed concentrations. Meanwhile, the Navy and Marine Corps pre-position fuel, munitions, and spare parts not only at Andersen and Opera Harbor, but at austere sites across the Marianas, including Tinian and Saipan. These forward caches allow rapid dispersal if warning time is short, and enable units to operate independently if Guam's main facilities are disrupted. The Future Defense Plan calls for a layered, 360-degree system. Upgraded ANTPY-2 radars, terminal high-altitude area defense batteries, and Aegis-equipped ships form the backbone of missile detection and interception. The goal is to create overlapping rings of protection, with sensors and interceptors that can spot and engage incoming threats from any direction. At multiple stages of flight, defense strategists point out that this architecture is still incomplete. Key elements, like the integration of space-based sensors and additional interceptor sites, remain in development. For now, the adaptations underway represent a race to close the gap between Guam's critical role and its growing vulnerability. Guam stands as the linchpin of America's Pacific reach, an unsinkable base but not an invulnerable one. In this era, hitting U.S. power means crippling sortie rates, slowing resupply, and disrupting command. As missile technology advances, the true contest is for time, initiative, and the ability to reinforce. Share your perspective below.